Marvin Gaye produced a myriad of seminal albums and chart-topping hits, from his beginnings in Motown to his evolution to socially conscious funk. But during those times, the singer fought continuously with bouts of depression, drug addiction and paranoia, and his lifelong struggle with his father would eventually lead to his untimely death under the most harrowing of circumstances. This is a tragic life story of Marvin Gaye. His father was a strict disciplinarian who would often beat his children for the smallest infractions, like coming home from school a minute late or leaving a hairbrush in the wrong place. Marvin described him as a very peculiar, changeable, cruel and all-powerful king, whose beatings became more and more violent as Marvin got older. In 1956, Marvin dropped out of high school and enlisted in the US Air Force, but later admitted it to be a bad idea after finding himself under superiors who had the same authoritarian leanings. Oh, and if you're wondering why Gaye's surname is spelt differently, it was a way to further distance himself from his father, and also to silence rumours surrounding his sexuality. Gaye really began to make a name for himself in the 60s. He joined the Motown label, married Berry Gordy's sister Anna, and was recording a plethora of hits and romantic duets with the likes of Diana Ross and Mary Wells. But despite his success, the emotional turmoil caused by his father left Gaye deeply unstable. It didn't take long before he began to experiment with drugs, which quickly led to a dependency on cocaine, and towards the end of the decade, Gaye fell into a deeply depressive state after the tragic loss of Tammy Terrell, who had collapsed on stage in his arms in 1967 and died just a few years later from a brain tumour. By the 70s, Gaye had put his pop persona behind him. After seeing the devastating impact of the Vietnam War and events like the Kent State Massacre, he was inspired to write the politically incisive hit What's Going On and its subsequent album. His immense range was dominating the charts, but unfortunately his time in the limelight only intensified his personal problems. By now Marvin was into his second marriage, this time with Janice Hunter. However, it turned out that Marvin would sometimes coerce Janice into having relationships with other men. This and the couple's domestic abuse and drug dependence became all too disastrous for Janice, and she too filed for legal separation. Gaye later admitted that he once even threatened her with a knife, and after their separation, arranged for their 4-year-old son to be kidnapped from her and taken to Hawaii with him. Once their relationship ended, Gaye became so depressed by the chaos he had caused that he attempted to kill himself by consuming over a gram of cocaine in less than an hour. His carelessness also stirred up some financial issues with the IRS, as he'd failed to pay his back taxes.
Yeah, I didn't tell you, I owed the government $4 million too, so that's enough to leave the country, you know.
With concerns of being put in prison, he fled to Belgium and attempted to get his life back on track. Whilst there, Gaye managed to get sober and regain the confidence of his former self, eventually deciding to return to the world stage one final time with Sexual Healing and its parent album Midnight Love. Returning to the stage, however, also meant returning to his old lifestyle. Gaye began freebasing cocaine, which made him severely paranoid, so much so that the singer began wearing a bulletproof vest at all times as he feared someone was out to kill him.
I was in an emotional state of, I've never been quite so depressed. I'm a bit of a manic depressant anyway. Most of the time I put on quite a face and an act, but I'm pretty depressed most of the time anyway.
Now, despite money rolling in, Gaye was still on the run from his creditors. He'd moved back in with his parents, and this inevitably reignited him and his father's conflict. The bad blood between them simmered for months before finally exploding in gunfire on April 1st, the day before Marvin's 45th birthday. Marvin Sr. was arguing with his wife about a misplaced insurance letter when Marvin intervened and turned things physical. In a quick turn of events, Marvin Sr. grabbed the gun that his son had gifted him for Christmas and shot Marvin twice, once in the chest and again in the shoulder. The first shot proved fatal. His brother Frankie, who lived next door, rushed over and held Gaye in his final moments as he muttered, "I got what I wanted. I couldn't do it myself, so I made him do it." Gaye was pronounced dead on arrival at the California hospital, and his father, initially charged with first-degree murder, was given a suspended 6-year sentence and 5 years probation for voluntary manslaughter. His death was undeniably a complete tragedy. It's clear that Marvin was unable to reach a contented sense of self. In fact, he'd tried to kill himself 4 days prior to the incident by hurling himself out of a speeding car. Nevertheless, he has since been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and is revered as one of the greatest soul singers of all time. Despite his troubled life, Marvin did some amazing things. He was a massive influential force in pop music who helped to shape the signature sound of Motown. He also went on to expand soul music's impact as an agent for social change, inspiring a whole generation of artists, with a voice edged with grit, yet tempered with a sweet, heartbroken vulnerability.